Imagine the phone ringing on a Friday evening. You look at the screen, you see the name, and for a split second, your stomach tightens. The old you, the one who spent decades performing, would have answered. You would have said yes to the dinner, yes to the favor, yes to setting yourself on fire just to keep them warm. But tonight, you do something different. You let it ring, you turn the screen over, and you go back to the silence of your own home. To the outside world, this looks like withdrawal. They might call you selfish, cold, or distant, but inside these walls, you know the truth. You aren't pushing people away because you hate them. You are finally protecting the little energy you have left. As the Stoics understood long before us, a man who cannot say no is a slave to everyone but himself. But there is a heavy price for this freedom, isn't there? When you stop being the useful one, the room gets very empty, very fast. If you are currently sitting in that emptiness, feeling a mix of guilt and absolute relief, stay with me. You haven't failed. You've just stopped acting. For most of your life, you probably operated under a very specific, unwritten contract. It went something like this. If I am accommodating enough, if I am easy enough, if I make myself small enough to fit into everyone else's lives, then I will be safe, I will be loved. It is a contract many of us sign when we are very young, before we even know what we are trading away. We are taught that good children are the ones who don't make noise, the ones who don't cause trouble, the ones who are always available to help. But as the years turn into decades, you start to notice the fine print of that contract. You realize that being easy didn't make people love you. It often just made them use you. You realize that being the listener, the helper, the one who never complains, is not a personality trait. It is a job. And it is a job that you have been working overtime, without pay, for 30, 40, maybe 50 years. There comes a moment, and perhaps that moment is why you are here right now, where the fatigue simply becomes too heavy to carry. It's not just a physical tiredness. It is a soul-deep exhaustion. It is the feeling of being drained not by activity, but by the sheer effort of pretending. Pretending to be interested, pretending to be available, pretending to be an extrovert in a world that cannot stop talking. When this exhaustion hits, it doesn't ask for permission. It demands a change. You start to crave your home not just as a place to sleep, but as a fortress. You start to look at your calendar and feel a physical aversion to the obligations written there. Every appointment feels like a threat to your peace. This is usually when the guilt arrives. The guilt tells you that you are changing for the worse. It tells you that you are becoming bitter or isolated or antisocial. But let's look at this through a different lens. What if this isn't a breakdown of your social life, but a breakthrough of your self-respect? Think about the last time you said yes when every cell in your body was screaming no. Remember the heaviness in your chest as you got dressed for that event. Remember the fake smile you had to plaster on your face for hours, nodding at conversations that meant nothing to you. That was a performance. You were an actor on a stage, playing the role of the nice person. And the toll of that performance is cumulative. It builds up in the body. It lives in the tightness of your shoulders, the shallowness of your breath. It lives in that low-level anxiety that hums in the background of your life, whispering that you are never doing enough. But when you finally walked back through your front door, took off the shoes and locked the world out, remember that rush of air filling your lungs? That was relief. That was your nervous system finally getting the signal that it was safe. We often confuse being selfish with being self-preserving. Seneca, the Roman philosopher, wrote extensively about the shortness of life. He observed a strange paradox in human nature. He noted that people are frugal with their money. They guard their property and their wealth fiercely. If someone tried to steal their land, they would fight to the death. But when it comes to their time, the one thing they can never get back, they are wasteful. They give it away to anyone who asks. They let intruders steal their hours, their days, their peace of mind. They allow people to dump their emotional garbage into their living rooms, and they call it friendship. Seneca would argue that reclaiming your time isn't selfish. It is the only sane response to a finite life. Every time you say yes out of guilt, you are effectively handing over a piece of your life that you will never see again. You are shortening your own existence for the sake of someone else's comfort. But knowing this intellectually is one thing, living it is another. Because when you start reclaiming your time, the ecosystem around you reacts. And it usually doesn't react with applause. When you stop being a people pleaser, you disrupt the balance of your relationships. The people who are used to your compliance will feel your boundaries as an attack. You've changed, they will say. You're not the same person anymore. And they are right. You aren't the same person. You are no longer the person who exists solely to make them comfortable. You are no longer the supporting character in the movie of their lives. This is the painful part of the process. It is the filtration. As you step into your solitude, you will likely see your circle shrink. The friends who only called when they needed a favor will stop calling. The family members who relied on you to be the emotional shock absorber will get angry when you step aside. They might accuse you of being cold. They might try to manipulate you back into your old role. It can feel incredibly lonely at first. You might look around your quiet living room and wonder if you made a mistake. You might think, I pushed everyone away, and now I have no one. But look closer at that silence. Is it really loneliness, or is it clarity? The space that has opened up in your life is not a void. It is a clearing. For years, your garden was overgrown with weeds, obligations, toxic dynamics, one-sided relationships. You have finally pulled them out. The ground looks bare now, yes, but for the first time in decades, there is room for something real to grow. You are beginning to see who is actually there for you, and who was just there for what you provided. It is a harsh realization, but it is a necessary one. This transition from people pleaser to private person is not a tragedy. It is a graduation. It is the moment you decide that your peace is more important than your popularity. If you are finding yourself nodding along, realizing that your social life was actually just a series of unpaid shifts. Let's pause here for a moment in this quiet corner we share. If this resonates with the exhaustion you've been carrying, you are not alone in this feeling. This shift is happening to people all over the world who are finally choosing their own peace. If you want to be part of this silent understanding, consider joining us here. We are building a sanctuary for those who are done with the noise. Let's continue. Because what comes next is understanding how to live in this new space without the guilt eating you alive. The guilt is the ghost of your old programming. It lingers because you were trained, likely from childhood, that your value was tied to your utility. You were taught that being good meant being available. So when you make yourself unavailable, your brain triggers a false alarm. It tells you that you are in danger, that you are being bad. It feels like a phantom limb pain. You have cut off the obligation, but you can still feel the ache of it. But notice something interesting. When you sit in your favorite chair with a book or just your thoughts and the phone is silent, nothing bad happens. The sky doesn't fall. The world keeps spinning. The only difference is that your heart rate is slower. Your shoulders are lower. You can breathe. This is the sanctuary you have built, and it is fragile in the beginning. You have to guard it. There is a profound difference between isolation and solitude, though the world often confuses the two. Isolation feels like a prison. It is something that happens to you. Solitude is a choice. It is a palace you enter willingly. In isolation, you are hiding from the world because you fear it. In solitude, you are stepping back from the world because you understand it. You understand that the noise out there creates noise in here. You understand that constant social interaction drains your battery, while silence recharges it. For the private person, the joy of missing out, JOMO, is a real and tangible pleasure. It is the specific delight of seeing plans cancelled. It is the comfort of a rainy Sunday where no one expects anything from you. It is the freedom to exist without an audience. Think about the animals in your life. if you have them. A cat doesn't apologize for walking away when it's done being petted. A dog doesn't pretend to be interested in a conversation to be polite. They just are. They exist in the moment, honoring their own needs. We often feel a deep connection to animals precisely because they don't demand a performance from us. They accept our silence. They share our space without invading it. We can learn a lot from that. We can learn that presence doesn't require constant chatter. As you settle into this new phase of life, you might find that your definition of friendship changes. You no longer have the energy for 20 superficial acquaintances. You don't want to go to the party to network or mingle. Those words sound like work. Instead, you crave depth. You would trade 100 cocktail parties for one quiet evening with a person who truly knows you. Or perhaps you are content with no one at all for a while, and that is valid too. There is a myth that we need a squad or a large group to be happy. This is an extrovert's ideal sold to us as a universal truth. But for many of us, especially as we mature, happiness looks a lot like a quiet room, a cup of tea, and the absence of drama. It takes courage to admit this. It takes courage to say, I am not depressed, I am not broken, I just prefer my own company right now. Society tries to pathologize this preference. They ask, are you okay? You've been so quiet lately. They try to fix you, as if your silence is a symptom of an illness. But your silence is the cure. It is the medicine you have needed for years. When you stop people-pleasing, you stop leaking energy. You stop giving away pieces of yourself to people who don't know how to hold them. And suddenly, you have energy left for yourself. You have energy to think, to create, to observe, or simply to rest. This is the return on investment. The cost was high. You lost the approval of the crowd. You lost the reputation of being the nice one. But the gain is oxygen. You have your life back. Consider the concept of the observer. When you are always in the middle of the noise, always talking, always managing other people's emotions, you cannot see clearly. You are too busy reacting. But when you step back, when you become the quiet one in the corner, you start to see human nature for what it is. You see the games people play. You see the insecurities behind the loud voices. You gain a perspective that is only possible through distance. This distance is not coldness, it is wisdom. It allows you to choose where to place your energy with precision, rather than spraying it like a fire hose on everyone you meet. It is important to acknowledge, however, that this isn't always a smooth road. There will be days when the silence feels heavy. There will be days when you wonder if you have become too rigid with your boundaries. This is natural. You are recalibrating decades of behavior. You are learning to navigate the world without the mask you wore for so long. The mask was heavy and suffocating, but it was also a shield. Without it, you might feel exposed. But feeling exposed is better than feeling numb. When you were a people pleaser, you were numb. You had to be. You had to suppress your own desires, your own irritations, your own truth, just to keep the peace. Now you are feeling everything. You are feeling the relief, yes, but also the grief of lost connections. You are feeling the comfort of your home, but also the stark reality of your choices. This is what it means to be alive, to be awake. The people who are meant to be in your life, the very few who deserve access to your safe haven, will respect your boundaries. They won't make you feel guilty for saying no. They won't take your need for solitude personally. They will understand that your time apart makes your time together better. These people are rare. You might only find one or two in a lifetime. And if you haven't found them yet, that is okay. It is better to be alone than to be surrounded by people who make you feel lonely. Think of your future self. Imagine yourself 10, 20 years from now. Do you want to be the person who is exhausted, bitter, and resentful because you spent your entire life saying yes to things you hated? Or do you want to be the person who is calm, self-contained, and at peace, even if that means your circle is small? The choice you are making today, every time you don't answer that phone, is a vote for that future peace. You are building a life that actually fits you, rather than trying to squeeze yourself into a life built for someone else. As you move forward, Protect this peace you have found. Do not let the guilt trick you into opening the door to people who drain you. Remember the feeling of the phone ringing and the knot in your stomach. That body sensation is your truth. Listen to it. Your body has been trying to tell you for years that you are unsafe in those dynamics. Now that you are finally listening, don't stop. You have spent enough time living for others. You have paid your dues. You have performed enough plays for audiences that didn't applaud. It is time to bring the curtain down. There is a quiet dignity in becoming a person who knows what they can handle and respects their own limits. It is not a weakness to say, "I cannot do this." It is a strength. It is the ultimate act of self-love. So the next time the phone rings and you feel that hesitation, let it ring. Let the guilt wash over you, acknowledge it, and then let it pass. Look around your sanctuary. Listen to the quiet. Feel the texture of the chair beneath you. Watch the dust motes dancing in the light, and know that you have earned this. You have finally stopped setting yourself on fire. And the warmth you feel now? That isn't the fire of destruction. That is the warmth of your own hearth, burning steadily, just for you. But as the external noise fades and your home becomes the sanctuary you always wanted, a new challenge often emerges from the corners of the room. When the world finally goes quiet, the thoughts inside your own head tend to get much louder. The silence you fought so hard to get can sometimes turn into an echo chamber for memories you thought you had forgotten. How do you handle the noise inside when there is no longer any noise outside to distract you? Alone together. A quiet corner of the internet for people who choose solitude over half-hearted connections.